Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. Today I will be breaking down all of the information gleaned from talking to certain developers at the Hong Kong Bar Citizen. As always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members. Thank you so much for making these videos possible. It is truly appreciated. Now also a big thank you to Chimera for collating and posting all of this information. I have linked the original post on Star Citizen base for those who want to read it for themselves. But basically, during the Bar Citizen in Hong Kong, as usual, many Cloud Imperium devs show up and are interviewed or just simply asked questions about Star Citizen, and here are some of the answers given to the best of the poster's memory. For Squadron 42, the removal of Squadron 42 from the store is not an indication of anything remotely imminent regarding a Squadron 42 release, so do not expect it to release this year, but this wasn't them saying that we won't see anything Squadron related, just regarding its release. Now for Alpha 320 and wiping the progress, they did say that they will only wipe if they have fixes for the duplication issues that are plaguing the game, as wiping without removing these duplication bugs is pointless, and they are wanting to get away from wiping progress in general, unless they have a reason to. Also, they say CIG are aware of most of the duping bugs, and are trying to fix them. So great that they are trying to fix them, of course. If they can eradicate all of them, that would be perfect, but if they do expect to wipe for 320, and if they can't, then don't expect to wipe for the progress. So kind of leaves us with a bit of a catch-22, but ultimately any bug fixes is good news. Now moving on to the hull C and the economy, with the release of the MISC hull C in Alpha 320, CIG say that this will provide a lot of useful information on how bigger ships will impact server performance. But they do also say that there is a low likelihood of any other big ships coming out this year. However, it was said in passing when someone said that they would love to see something like the Pioneer come along. The developer responded with, "You really should come to CitizenCon this year, I think you'd be happy." Now, this of course is very much not likely saying that the Pioneer is coming this year. Possibly it could be involved in the keynote perhaps, or if they're talking about base building maybe, more on that in a second. But it could equally just not be either, so no idea what this means. We'll have to wait until CitizenCon to find out. They say there was also a long and complicated discussion about the economy and the effects of the hull C on the economy, but the gist of this conversation was that certain ships are considered as haulers while others as delivery ships. For example, ships that can land are delivery ships, while haulers can carry stuff from station to station or system to system. Now, this has kind of been somewhat hinted about in the past in relation to how cargo missions will evolve, how they will work and utilize the cargo decks. Basically, haulers like the hull C and other large hauling ships will be travelling from station to station and interstellar travel from system to system, moving large consignments of cargo, like ocean liners basically. And once that cargo has been unloaded at these locations, like the cargo decks, missions will then begin to pop up to distribute those goods around the local area using smaller ships, similar to trucks, lorries or vans. And this is how the economy and missions will be handled when moving goods around the berth. Now, in relation to ship design, they did say that they will follow an old and new approach for styles from the same manufacturer. For example, the MISC Freelancer is seen as the old style MISC, while the Hull A is the new style MISC, meaning that the Freelancer won't receive the aesthetic upgrade to look like the Hull A or B or whatever. And I do quite like this approach, as it shows that natural evolution in design for various manufacturers. Now, moving on to a discussion about AI crew and AI blades, we will not see these in-game until there is more stability, otherwise it will negate their ability to even do basic tasks, and I am glad to hear this, as NPCs currently do show how iffy the AI can be when the server stability is low. So adding crew or blades will just add to the chaos until they can improve that. And for ChatGPT or other AI systems, they say that these won't be used to supplement things in the game due to proprietary reasons. But it was mentioned somewhat recently by a sound engineer that he would love to one day get to the point where when you speak verbally to an NPC using in-game VoIP, they will respond appropriately back to you, which we are sort of seeing tested now in certain games, and this won't be coming to Star Citizen any day soon, but for the future, that is certainly a potential and would be very cool. Now, we have quite a few updates regarding base building, space station ownership, player housing and land beacons, and starting with base building, the developer says that it will be more akin to Fallout 4's prefab house system, not where you can create a base panel by panel. And also that base building is very important to CIG, because they really want to have players creating bases and whatnot, but it won't be coming out until likely around Nyx, not coming for Pyro. So firstly, in regards to when, I think it is safe to say that none of us were really expecting it anytime soon, but once Pyro is out for 4.0, Nyx will be coming pretty sharpish afterwards, and it wouldn't be taking too long for that to come around. But secondly, I am very happy to hear that they finally gave an idea as to how this system would work. Now, Fallout 4's prefab system means buildings that we place, likely using an AI UI system, will be somewhat full shells of buildings, likely as segments, I would assume, like an entrance, a lobby, habitation, bedrooms, that kind of thing, and then attaching them from one to the next, choosing between various styles of architecture available, and then being able to fully customize the interior with different design styles, furniture, and whatever we want. Now, personally, I would certainly love for more of a panel by panel system, as it does offer a lot more variety, but if Fallout 4 is anything to go by, although it is Bethesda, it does often come with a lot of bugs, clipping, and issues. I will be more than happy with a prefab method, and one day hope that they could expand it to more hands-on methods as well, but it is nice to get a little bit more information on how base building will work, utilizing this Rastar tool and ships like the Pioneer to help build our own places. And this can be homesteads, it can be houses, bases, refineries, all sorts of different things, but we will certainly need to hear a lot more from CIG before we speculate too far. Now, for station ownership or space station ownership, they say that players won't be able to own space stations in-game, but players or groups can control stations if they have people on them blocking others from entering. Now, this was stated very early in development, similar to the Bengal carrier, that players could fight over economic nodes like space stations, factories and so forth, but these locations will persist, and players will need to be permanently on board to keep control of them, which could relate in a lot of fighting over them from other orgs. Now, for player housing, on the other hand, referring to pre-built locations by CIG, not built by players, players will absolutely be able to own them, and it is expected that these will be instanced and like owning an apartment. But because of server instancing and meshing, there could be any number of players actually owning, say, flat 23B in a hab tower, but players will be able to own multiple housing units around the verse. Now, this was always likely to be the case, especially when first released. Chris Roberts has said long term he would love for accommodation and locations around landing zones, for example, to one day be as physical as possible, creating a bit of a real estate demand, but instance to start with. So in the future, maybe physical, maybe not, but ultimately they could just take this instance route, as this is the more logical and easy approach, so we will see. Either way, I'm not bothered. I would love to have them physicalized, but I completely understand why instancing is needed and likely the future. Also, they did say that housing will be a big deal in Star Citizen, having homes all over the verse if we so chose. And then finally, for land beacons, if you don't know, players will be able to place a land beacon on a planet or moon within UEE space. Say you've scanned the planet, you found some resources in one place, or a nice spot where you want to live, you can place this beacon down, then travel to, say, an admin office, claim that piece of land and pay the UEE for it, which in turn will give you the right to it and protection from the UEE. Now, these initially, when they were first sold, which were outside of game with real money, but they will be sold in-game, of course, they ranged from 4x4 kilometer plots to 8x8 kilometer plots. But I am almost certain now that there will be other sizes available once they start rolling this out. And it was said that land beacons that are owned can be sold in-game, or the land that the beacon claimed can be sold, but players are not able to claim land themselves and sell it officially to others, as the only type of land claims recognized comes from governing authorities. And what this means is that if you are not in UEE space, or maybe where a different group has authority over the land, you will still be able to build wherever you like, just not officially or legally or under their protection as such. So you can't just suddenly say, this piece of land on Pyro 3, I will sell this to you, and you pay me money, although I'm sure that will happen. But saying that, there is still a lot more about this system, about all these systems that need to get fleshed out, and we will hear more about it once they start building them. Now, for just more of a general Q&A related stuff, firstly for missions, smaller side missions will be given at some point once there is more stability and server meshing. Eventually, underground facilities could have multiple parts, like firstly destroying air assets before going into the bunker, and then securing stuff underground, with also reinforcements coming. Now, I'm not sure if they're referring to the old underground facilities or the new ones, or both. We will have to see. For the various cities around the verse, for inspiration, for the human cities of the verse, they use in-game lore and current-day cities of Earth, but as alien lore and aesthetics get built out further, we will be seeing some amazing alien architecture, they say. And in regards to Stanton, Pyro and Nyx and other systems, the Stanton system is seen as old and safe, Pyro is harsh and dangerous, while Nyx is more off-grid homesteader, hence the implication that base building will come once Nyx is out. I wouldn't say Stanton is old, as we've only really settled that within the last 200 years. So anyway, right now they say the focus is on Pyro and Nyx, getting that in-game as soon as possible, but they haven't built too much of any other system yet. So basically, once 4.0 comes out and Pyro, it does sound like Nyx isn't going to be too far behind, but outside of those systems, they are yet to properly get started on them. But the tools, processes, and skills created and learned from Stanton, Pyro, and Nyx will certainly help to speed the rest up. Now, someone asked about Theatres of War, and they said it is being worked on, but only with a small team. There is a group testing different game modes, but Theatres of War is not a priority at this moment, so happy to hear it's still moving along, but it doesn't sound like it's coming anytime soon. I suppose 320 and getting all these Arena Commander updates in first was a priority before anything Theatres of War could come along. For the 600i rework, it is still being considered, but it is not on the tracker as it has taken a backseat to many other things. FPS sliding and additional animations will be a thing, but no ETA given. I think many of these are being worked on for Squadron 42 first, before coming over to the PU. Passenger transport missions will come after the freight transport missions, which we have heard are being worked on. We have heard that big box missions and multi-box missions are in the works. Hoping for 320, but it more likely will be after. Quanta isn't seen as virtual economy gameplay, more NPC focused and adjusting shop prices in game. So hoping to hear more about the quantum simulation and the data-driven economy work at this year's CitizenCon from Tony Z, but the idea being that NPCs in the background going about doing things will be affecting the prices of things. But yeah, we need to hear an update from Tony on this one. Persistent hangars, it says, are slated to come out when the next iteration of the cargo system comes into game, and as much as there appears to be quite a lot of work on cargo for 320, the persistent hangars do require freight elevators, which has work going on until December, so I'm not expecting this next cargo system iteration to technically be 320, and that could also be when we see these new cargo missions coming in as well. And finally, AI blades aren't being worked on right now, but NPC crew stuff with wingman commands are being tested, but no idea when these will be implemented. But this we have heard about in the Squadron 42 monthly reports in regards to how we will communicate and issue orders to wingmen in the campaign, which of course will apply to the persistent universe one day, but there seems to be quite a lot of other things in the way right now for that to happen. So there you have it. That was a lot of very cool information gathered from the Hong Kong Bar Citizen. Again, a big thank you to Chimera for collating all of that, as it is much appreciated. Some great insight into many areas of the game that I know myself and many of you are itching for more information on. Hopefully much of what we have read about today will be somewhat addressed at CitizenCon as well, but I think a lot of what they spoke about is still pretty far off, so we will see. With that said, if you do appreciate my videos, please do consider subscribing and helping the channel to grow. Also, come and hang out over at twitch.tv/supermacbrother. You are all more than welcome over there. Hit the thumbs up if you don't mind, it does the channel a big favour, and tick that notification bell if you would like to be notified when my videos go live. Again, a huge thank you to my patrons and channel members. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.